محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. لا حول ولا قوة الا بالله العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I seek refuge in Allah against the accursed Shaitan, the avowed enemy of mankind that lurks without, and I seek refuge especially with the demons that lurk within my own heart. I only bear witness that nothing deserves to be worshipped except Allah without partner, without associate. And I only bear witness that Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed, is the slave servant, the messenger, the seal of the prophets. There is no power, there is no might except with Allah, the Most High, the Mighty, the Great, and with certainty all praise is due to Allah. Alhamdulillah. This week we will be dealing in one of the major diseases of the heart, disease. And it's a disease that is so prevalent that it's become almost unnoticeable, undetectable. And it's a disease that stems from probably of the organs of the body that will be most responsible for sending the children of Adam to the hellfire. Prophet ﷺ said there would be two. He said it would be the private parts and the tongue. Probably more so than the private part, the tongue is far more dangerous, actually. So we will be dealing with a disease that stems from the tongue that is like a wild beast, like a wild stallion. Once it starts to talk, it's hard to reel it back in. The disease we will be dealing with, or the diseases that we will be dealing with, will be backbiting, slander, and defamation of character. Backbiting, slander, and defamation of character. These are three major, not minor, these are three major diseases of the heart. So much so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, would any of you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother or sister? In referring to these diseases. And it's rampant. And it must be confronted and it must be dealt with. Backbiting. What is backbiting? Just the name alone tells you something about the disease. Biting the back of somebody. What is it? If you think about the word itself, biting their back, not front biting, back biting. Meaning that you're doing something behind the back and you're literally eating the flesh of the person behind their back. Backbiting is major disease. Major. And like I said, it's rampant, it's out of control. And it's something that leads to even more serious diseases. And the consequence of backbiting will not only bring about consequences in this life, but in the next life as well. There will be serious consequences for people to do this. Now, in one form or another, to be honest, we've all done it. We've all done it. we would be adding another disease, which we would be dealing with in a later time, to the list of diseases. We would be lying if we said we never did it or we don't do it. But you have something with diseases, you have acute disease and you have chronic disease. An acute disease is like something that happens, like that you get and you take a medicine or a remedy, and disease goes away, like a headache. You have a headache, you take something for your headache, and the headache goes away. That's an acute. Comes, oh, my head hurts. But you take an aspirin or something, it goes away. A chronic disease is something that don't leave you. Like you got it, and you can't just take the pill and it ain't going away. When we talk about diseases of the heart, chronic diseases come about because a person who is chronically ill with a spiritual disease, it doesn't come on all at once. It doesn't come on at once. Like a headache, again, comes on all at once. All of a sudden you have a headache. You're like, wow, just a minute ago I was fine, but now I have a headache. Cancer, on the other hand, you don't just wake up and say, oh, I got cancer. It's chronic, it builds, it grows, it spreads. Backbiting is a chronic disease. It's chronic. And the people who commit this disease are chronically ill. Chronically ill. What is backbiting? Backbiting is to say something behind a person's back that you wouldn't say to their face. Even if it's true, what you're saying. Even if it's true. But it's like saying, like you see a kid in school and you say, oh, she ugly. Oh, he fat. She might be a little, non-attractive. And he might be a little overweight. But you wouldn't just walk up to him and say, you fat. Or you wouldn't just walk up to her and say, you ugly. It might be true. But you say it behind their back. This is serious illness. We should never, ever, ever say anything about anybody behind their back that you wouldn't say to their face. Not only by direct wording, but even by insinuation. When these diseases, the perpetrators of these diseases that are chronically ill, you have to know one thing. Simple. If somebody comes to you backbiting someone else, and you sit there and listen to it, you could be 99.99% more certain that they backbiting about you too. You could be 99.99% certain that the one that's backbiting and you sitting there listening to it, they doing the same thing about you. And this disease is contagious. It's contagious. Because once the ear, you see, the backbiter seeks out someone to dump their filth on. They won't just go to anybody. They'll scope you out. And they'll get to know what type of person you are. And then when they think that they know you well enough, they'll start poisoning you with backbiting. Because your ear, they'll drop a little something, and if your ear, and if you as a person don't immediately stop it, then they know they got a receptive ear. We say, some may say, well, I didn't say it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Once the filth has been dumped into a container, even if the container was pure, what happens to the filth? What happens to the container after the filth was dumped into it? It becomes filthy. We have to be very, 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 very careful. Because once a person who is chronically ill with this disease and they find a receptive ear, they will continually dump, dump, dump. And there's a reason and a purpose why they're doing it, because they want it to spread. And they know that you're weak. How do they know you're weak? Because they done tested you. They know your weak spots. They know what your weak spot is. That's like if I go to someone, like if I claim to love someone, I claim that I love someone, parent, child, whoever, wife, spouse, husband. If somebody comes to you and backbites, talks about somebody behind their back that you claim to love, and you don't defend that person, what kind of love is that? What kind of love is that? You're weak. And your sense of security is weak. But worse than backbiting is slander. 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 Slander is when you go, once that backbiter, once that poison spreader knows that it has a willing receptacle to dump in, then it goes further. Then it will go on to say things behind the person's back that they wouldn't say to their face, and it's a lie. That's slander. They're lying. They're lying. Now they've added another disease on top of the disease. They're talking about someone behind their back to you. And you're a receptacle. You're just feeding upon it. Why? Because there's something inside of you that's allowing this person to do this, because there's a weakness inside of you that's attracted to the weakness inside of them. So once they get a receptacle that they can dump their garbage in, then they'll start talking behind not only about one person, but about multiple people. Because now the receptacle is now so polluted that it's just like a sewer. The water flows through, but all the water that flows through is filthy because the receptacle, the sewer, is so filthy that even the pure rain that falls from the sky but goes into the sewer automatically becomes filthy. Slander is when someone talks about somebody behind their back that they would not say to their face, and they're lying. But they're still testing the receptacle, because now you're not going to challenge that. You're not going to challenge that. Somebody's talking about your father, and you know you're not gonna challenge it. Somebody's talking about your wife, your husband. You're not gonna challenge it. You're gonna just keep absorbing it because you're weak. Straight up, you're weak. Defamation of character. Defamation of character. You might have heard this term. It's even a legal term that's used in secular law. Defamation of character is even worse than backbiting and slander. Defamation of character is when you say something about someone behind their back that you would not say in front of their face, and it's a lie, but it's said with the intent of damaging and destroying the character of the person who you're slandering. And these people pick out certain people to spread this poison with because they've already sized you up. They know exactly what you're all about, and you become a carrier of the disease. A carrier. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're told that one of the worst forms of defamation of character is to intentionally defame the character of a believing Muslim woman. It's one of the worst. To do that intentionally. Even if the woman might be a free-spirited woman, like to laugh, like to joke, But with intent, you defame the character of a believing woman on the list of major sins. That's definitely on the Mount Rushmore. It's one of the major sins. Why? Because it's a sin that in an Islamic state, in an Islamic community that's governed by Islam, is punishable by 80 lashes. It's no small thing. No small thing. To defame the character of a believing woman, to make people think that her character is such that she's might possibly or is conceivable or is actively involved in haram, to cause someone to think that a believing woman might be doing something dishonorable, haram behavior. It's a major sin, punishable in Islam. When we come across these people out of being naive, our perception might not be as keen to recognize what's being done. They already know that because they already checked you out. But the Prophet ﷺ, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ, before he even asked something, he said, "You came to ask me about righteousness." He said, "Righteousness is that which makes your heart feel at ease, and unrighteousness is that which causes your heart to waver to and fro in your breast. And you don't want people to know you do it, even though the world says it's all right to do it." So, in being naive, after a while, if there's any semblance of righteousness in your heart, especially if you're remembering Allah and seeking Allah's forgiveness on a continuous basis, after a while, it just ain't gonna sound right. You might not understand what this person is doing to you, but it ain't gonna sound right. You're like, God, it don't sound right. I remember the story. I've told it many times. When I was in the Sudan and someone came to me and they was telling me, they asked me where I was going, and I was saying I was going to see my Shaikh. And they said, who's your Shaikh? And I told them who my Shaikh was, who my teacher was. And they said some horrific things about it. He's this, he's that, he got women. I said to the person, I said, even if what you're saying is true, I don't know my Shaikh to be like that. It might be true to you, but that's not the person I am. I said it immediately. I didn't wait till later, because the later I waited, the more they would have told me. And the more they told me, the more my brain might have been susceptible to believing something that they told me, or questioning whether or not what they were saying was true or not. I immediately said, what you're saying is not true to me. And when I said that, they left. And I went to my teacher, my Shaikh, and I told him the story. And he said, that was Shaitan that came to test you. That was Shaitan came to test you. Not literally Shaitan, but a shayateen, a little devil. A little devil, a shayateen, coming to test you. Because the people who suffer from these serious diseases of the heart, of backbiting, slander, defamation of character, they seek out people to recruit into their circle. You have to be very careful, very careful, very, very careful, especially with male, female. There was a time when people used to say that women just naturally gossiped. They like to get on the phone and they like to gossip and talk and talk and talk and talk. And this was something, right or wrong, was something that was just naturally assumed that the ladies did. They like to gossip. That was then. Now, men are worse. They're worse. They're worse. And don't let a man that is inclined to listen to gossip, backbiting, slander, and defamation of character, don't let the one that's spreading the disease into their receptacle, don't let it be a woman. Because now they wide open. We used to say they nose open. Because she got them by the cojones. And she know it. And she know it. Ask yourself, why would a person do that? Ask yourself, why would they do it? If you're ever confronted, say, you go to the person and say what you're saying about them. Say it to their face. Say it to their face. They're right there. There you go. They're right there. You see them every week. You see them every day. There you go. There you go. Say it to their face. They'll never do it. They'll never do it. So I don't want to do that. Why you don't want to do it? Why you don't want to do it? Because you busted. And you know what will happen if you go in front of their face and say something like this. So, we must protect ourselves in these times. We must protect ourselves in these times. Because a family, a community, a country, a nation can be infiltrated by agent provocateurs. In other words, they don't have to be present. Their agents are present. Their agents, the ones that they programmed. Because now, if the mind has become susceptible to that programming, now the eyes are going to start to see what the brain has been programmed to think and see in the person, even though it don't exist. But the brain is going to see it and question. I've said it for years in closing. Anybody, and I think we should all take this position. Anybody got anything to say about me? Say it to my face. If it's true, it's true. If it's not true, it's not true. But say it to my face. Say it to my face. Because not for me. It's not for me that I'm saying say it to my face. It's for you. Because at least in saying it to my face, you won't be accused of gossiping, backbiting, slander, and defamation of character. And be very, 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 very careful about spreading rumor and innuendo and suspicion about a believing Muslim woman. Very careful. This will get you killed. You know, women got husbands, women got brothers, women got fathers, women got cousins. Be very careful. And when people approach you with this filth, don't let it enter into your consciousness. And if you have established any type of relationship with that sort of person, I'm telling you emphatically, break it immediately. Because the longer you let it linger on, the more they know they got you. Why is it that you don't break it? Break it. We're told in Islam that when we slaughter, to use a sharp knife and to do it quickly. It's talking about an animal, a sacrifice of an animal. When you break off the ties of negativity and potential evil with a person who is poisoning you intentionally and poisoning you with the intention for you to spread the poison, use a sharp knife, mean your tongue, and do it immediately and swiftly. Finished. No more relationship. No more relationship. Any relationship after that will be considered like you're the same as they are. There's no different. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us away from these evils of this time that are rampant, widespread. It's one of the most systemic diseases that are destroying us individually, collectively, and communally. We must stamp it out wherever we find it. Don't be one that does it, and equally, don't be one that allows it to be done too. Don't become a receptacle. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and protect us and have mercy on us. and keep us away from these evil inclinations within ourselves and these evil inclinations within people who have these diseases. May Allah separate us from these people, separate us from these type of people, because we are told that the believers know each other by their marks, by their sign, by their aura that they give off, their energy. And we're told that the hypocrites know each other by the energy that they give off. Everybody gives off an energy. Everybody gives off something that people who are trained to notice, they pick up on. And if they want, for whatever reason, to spread their poison and spread the disease throughout the community, they'll find someone to be a spreader, and before you know it, you're a gossiper, you're a backbiter, you're a slanderer, and you're a defamer of character. May Allah protect us against these diseases. Amen. Favor, sing peace and blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all the rightly guided servants until the day of judgment. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi